Modern Warfare 2019. Let's talk about it. So, Modern Warfare 2019 was released in October, I believe it was October 25 of 2019, and it was technically speaking a precursor to the three original Modern Warfare games. However, since they're not canon, the new Modern Warfare 2022 that they just released, rewrites the story as well as a bunch of the story getting edited slightly through the 2019 edition. Now, I specifically want to start by talking about the campaign because that's personally what I enjoyed the most of the game, even though I was upset about some things. So, I wasn't appreciative in the story of some of the character changes, the modeling changes, like Captain Price doesn't look anything like he used to. Yes, I know he's not technically Captain Price, I believe he's Lieutenant Price in this game. However, I did not enjoy seeing his character model get changed, nor that of Gaz or some of the other characters, but I did really appreciate the Fatima side of the story. I really enjoyed playing through her missions, especially when she was a little girl in the back of a truck, and all of the stuff that happened there. I really enjoyed her story. I enjoyed learning about her brother and everything that was happening for him, seeing his side of the story as well, even though he turned out to be the villain of the game. That we actually got to play as him and see that to him, he wasn't really the villain. He thought he was doing what needed to be done to fix his land. Now, overall, the story played through smoothly. It was really fun. It was not too difficult, but not too easy. I do know that recently I've heard of it taking some flack because of, I believe it was the Highway of Death mission. I don't know what the mission was called, I don't remember. But I know there was a mission in it where you were basically a sniper over the Highway of Death. And essentially, the gist of the game was saying that America was the ones who were in the right there, and the other country involved was the ones in the wrong. Now, I don't know per se what is true, but I have heard recently that the other country involved in that highway and that incident has been upset with the game for its negative portrayal of the other country, and that they really weren't the ones in the wrong and that the US was. I don't know that to be true because I haven't gone and done research, but I have heard that story. I've seen some news articles about it, etc. Anyways, I personally enjoyed the way it played out. Everything from the very realistic feel to it, not knowing who is friendly and who is enemy in some games. Well, not some games, some missions. Having to pay attention and be careful and, notice what was going on around you instead of just, hey, enemies are running at you. Time to get rid of them. But actually having to pay attention and decide, like, hey, are these NPCs friendly or not? And with NPCs being able to pick up guns even after you leave, having to decide what to do and where to do it, and all that kind of stuff. It just made the game feel a lot more interactive instead of just a shooter. It made it feel more like let's just say, like a military simulation. Now, it wasn't perfect. There were some glitches along the way. Not really anything severe to where you couldn't play it. Just like some issues with not being able to pick up guns or guns falling through the ground, like the floor of the map. Just some small stuff like that. So overall, like I said, campaign was great. I loved the Fatima story. It played out great. I might be mispronouncing her name, but I do believe that's how her name is pronounced. But let's move on. The multiplayer mode, I personally did not like. Now, I came into the game like 8 months after it was released, and I tried to play the multiplayer. And I ended up getting stuck in matches with people who had maxed out weapons and high ranks and all that kind of stuff. And I know this is something I complain about a lot on these kinds of games. But the problem was, for me, I had base level guns, and it would take about 7 or 8 shots for me to be able to hit and eliminate the enemies that I was facing. Whereas most of them had elemental fire types on their weapons, and it would take 2, maybe 3 shots before I was dead. So I really couldn't play the game at all. Like, I literally had no chance playing it. About the only way I could even stand a chance of surviving was using an RPG or a shotgun, and even then, it was really difficult for me to survive. However, if we take the players out of it, the maps were fantastic. I loved the designs of the map. I loved the way they looked. I loved the fact that they had more cover, but not too much cover, and that it also was a more realistic feel to the cover, instead of some games like Vanguard, where there's just so much stuff thrown into it that it didn't really feel realistic. So I loved the way that played out. I loved the search and destroy, all the kind of stuff that you normally see in Modern Warfare games. Now, they also had the Special Ops versions back, which, I think it's alright. It's not great, but it's not bad. But overall, not really my favorite either. I preferred other games over playing the Modern Warfare multiplayer in general. Now, like I said, the Modern Warfare, this version was not that pleasant, but the Modern Warfare 2022 version was really good for its multiplayer. They fixed a lot of the issues I had with it, aside from how you level up guns. But back to this game. They also had, obviously, the Warzone release alongside of it. Like, it was supposed to be part of Modern Warfare. Now, I have a few negative things to throw onto that, but not too much, because of some other games. So I want to talk about that real quick. So, when all of this started, I was playing Call of Duty Cold War, and I enjoyed that game, and I was playing it a lot. I was using the battle passes, whatever. And then out of nowhere, all of the battle pass switched over from Cold War to Vanguard and Modern Warfare and Warzone, and all the skins and everything unlocked for that, and it was no longer working as a battle pass for Cold War, which really frustrated me because I didn't play these other games at the time, and so I'm getting stuck not being able to play it. Now, the only reason I'm bringing that up is because it is a negative onto Warzone and Modern Warfare, because there's no reason that they should have tied the battle pass from Cold War into the battle pass for Warzone, for Vanguard, for Modern Warfare. And I honestly believe the only reason they did that is because nobody was playing Vanguard, and because the majority of the Warzone players had quit playing, and it was mostly just streamers playing in bot lobbies at that point. But it was still really frustrating. I'd worked really hard, I'd leveled up a lot in Cold War, and then my rank and everything just got taken away. I lost all of my prestige. I had to start from the ground up. And that was really frustrating. So that gave me a lot of the negative light I had going into Warzone. Now, as far as Warzone itself goes, I have two different experiences that I'm going to talk about on it. Warzone, when played on my Xbox, is terrible. I hated it. It was absolutely miserable to play. I had a very limited field of view. I would keep missing people because I couldn't see outside of the 80 field of view or whatever that it is, and you couldn't change the field of view. I hated the fact that I couldn't turn off crossplay, and as such I had to play against PC players. To me, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal if I would have been able to play against Xbox players, because everybody would have had the same field of view. But since I couldn't, the computer players had a very unfair advantage over me on top of several other things. But I didn't realize that until I started playing PC. So continuing on with that, the field of view limitation, the lower frame rate, especially when there's trucks driving and stuff like that. There's just so much stuff that was wrong about Warzone on Xbox that it was literally unplayable when playing against PC players. For the most part, you didn't stand a chance. And it was miserable. I never wanted to touch it. But when I switched over and played it on my PC, because I just wanted to see what it was going to be like, there was a whole new world unlocked on my PC. I was able to hear different sounds, more sounds, different sounds better as to what field of hearing they were coming from, whether they're in front of me, behind me, whatever. Mostly in regard to footsteps. I could tell if they were above or below me, and that completely blew it out of the water compared to the Xbox, because you can't hear any of that on the Xbox, no matter what tuning of your audio you do. So for those sounds to be there, it was really impressive. But then also being able to move around still while you're looting a loot box or picking up a search crate, a weapon crate, a loadout crate, whatever. Being able to do all of those things also helped. Being able to still move around while you're plating up. Super helpful. There were all kinds of new movements, new sounds, everything. And the game was just completely different on my PC than my Xbox. And I enjoyed playing it on my PC. It was a lot of fun. Now, obviously, there are still some issues. The game was plagued with hackers. It was plagued with all kinds of other glitches and issues, all kinds of exploits and things you could do. So the game wasn't great. It just wasn't. Now, I haven't played the new Warzone yet, so I won't talk about that one yet, which is why I didn't talk about it in my Modern Warfare 2022 release. But I haven't gotten into it because of how bad the original Warzone ended up being, mostly on Xbox. Now, I don't know if it was that bad on a PlayStation because I don't have a PlayStation, but as I was saying, the game was enjoyable on PC. I enjoyed playing it, leveling up my guns, going through the whole experience, exploring the map, finding the vaults, searching through and destroying the AIs, competing against other players to control the top of the hill, essentially, exploring all these different vaults and things. I really enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. Overall, I would say the campaign, though, as I said in the beginning, was the best part of the game. I enjoyed it the most. I've played it back through like 3 or 4 times since I got it. Really enjoyed playing the campaign. In my opinion, it's one of the best Call of Duty campaigns to be released, especially in most recent years, as we were really let down with the Cold War campaign, with the Vanguard campaign, and just so many issues. Like Black Ops 4 didn't even have a campaign, as far as I'm aware. So for all these issues, with all these other campaigns, I was just really glad to see that this one had a good campaign. Overall, I would say that it's a game worth getting and playing. You might enjoy the multiplayer. I haven't been back to the game to check out the multiplayer recently, since I just started 2022. So I would definitely give the game a check. It's not like it was a bad game. I just wouldn't say it was a good game. The campaign was great, the multiplayer was kind of lousy, and Warzone was meh. But yeah, I would go ahead and give the game a check if I were you.